Does this story sound familiar? If you're like me, you heard about this band called Nirvana. The guitarist was some dude named Kurt Cobain, and everybody was raving about this album called Nevermind that they made, so you decide to check it out, and bam! Your life is changed forever. Raw, aggressive guitars, awesome, powerful vocals, and incredible songs. And you want to know, how do I do that? Well, let's break down how Kurt gets his sound and see how close we can recreate this. Now, on the recordings, there are a million guitar parts and amps and overdub parts. Does it sound great? Obviously. But we're going to try and get as close as we can with just one guitar and get you able to sound like Kurt for your next band rehearsal, next cover video, or just for your own enjoyment. There were some changes in his gear over the years, but we're just sort of gonna generalize here and see how close we can get. Now, Kurt was not a snob with his guitars. In the early Nirvana years, he used Univox Hi-Flyers, but he's more known for playing Fender guitars. Jag-Stangs, Mustangs, Jaguars, Strats, and he had that crazy modded Martin D18 Acoustic 2 on those MTV Live sessions. Preferably something cheap, but that Martin being an exception. For this video, we're gonna use a Fender Mustang, and we have a humbucking bridge, which is great, and we're gonna see how we do. The offset guitar look and the humbucking pickups should get us in the ballpark for starting our Nirvana sound. For you at home, just pick something that gets the job done that you may or may not break at the end of a show. Ideally, something with humbuckers or rail-style pickups in the bridge should do, but if you just have a guitar with single coils, you'll be just fine. The specific strings he reportedly used don't exist anymore, but you can use some Dean Markley signature strings, 10 through 52. It's pretty close to what he used, but really any set of 10s should work. The picks that he used were Dunlop 60mm picks. These little orange guys here. Just really any pick you want, something a little bit thinner will be great, and we'll be good to go. For pedals, basically all you're gonna need is really a Boss DS1. He later did use a DS2, so you could use that, and parts of Nevermind he was using a Big Muff. I personally found the op-amp version to be a little bit more stylistically correct to the older Big Muffs, but pick whatever muff you want. If you like 90s grunge music, you'll want a Big Muff of some kind. Another option could be a Proco Rat. Although Kurt didn't use this all the time, it was apparently used on the tune Territorial Pissings. You can also get Electro-Harmonix Small Stone for some of the chorus. He would sometimes use that or an Echo Flange that would often not work, or a Polychorus from Electro-Harmonix as well. Do you need these specific pedals? No, but they're pretty cheap and that's what Kurt used. I know that super amazing circuit board from the 90s couldn't possibly be recreated now, and all the new stuff sounds terrible compared to back then and whatever. But I want us to be able to get this sound without having to spend a fortune on vintage correct parts. So just use whatever's available to you. Kurt used a Mesa Boogie studio preamp with a Crest power amp into some Marshall cabs, but those aren't made anymore. So we're going to go ahead and use a Fender Twin, which he used in his later years to try and recreate the sounds. It's worth noting that earlier in his career, he used Randall amps. So much like the guitar, the amp isn't really make or break, so I wouldn't stress too hard here. The amp you own will be just fine. All right, so I'm gonna dial in our amp tone here a little bit. I made a loop of a classic Nirvana song. If you know it, comment below, but let's hear what everything does. So I'm just gonna put the volume up to about 4 or so, around here. Okay, let's start bringing in the treble. Don't be afraid of feedback. You can let the guitar kind of take off with you. When you have high volume and that amount of distortion, you'll really increase the sustain on your instrument. You don't want to make your neighbors mad, but just crank your distortion to the point of having a little bit of feedback. Now, let's talk about the playing style. The sloppier, the better. You're gonna want some of those open strings ringing out or having some accidental harmonics or chunks. Remember, grunge music is just about pure emotion and volume rather than proper chord switching and good technique. So let's try moving some power chords around, but let's see if we can get a little bit more Kurt Cobain-y here. power chords are gonna be your friends here. Yes, he did not exclusively use them, but you're gonna find them all over his music. So take your power chords and move them around. Kurt was known to use some unique progressions, so feel free to jump around all over the neck. And again, add those open strings, a little bit more of that sloppiness in between the chords to give it more of that authentic feel. Bonus tip, if you try lowering your guitar down a whole step, so D, G, C, F, A, D, you'll notice Kurt does this a few times in quite a few tunes. You'll find the guitar gets a lot beefier and those power chord riffs really get a little bit more energy to them. So there are some tips that you can use to get going so you can learn more about Kurt's unique and powerful guitar style. I hope you enjoyed this video, but you can check out my 5 Kurt Cobain riffs to learn some specific tunes if you want to dive deeper into his playing. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit like and subscribe. If you're a big fan of Nirvana, feel free to list your favorite Nirvana tunes below. I'd love to see them, and we'll catch you in the next video.